Now, if you've read any sales book at all ever, it's highly probable that you've heard of the technique called feel, felt, found. Now, this technique has been very highly overused in the past, to the point where if you use it, people can sometimes feel manipulated and they can feel that you're using a technique on them, which would be fair enough because, of course, you would be using a technique on them. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this technique is brilliant and it works. So what we want to be able to do is understand how it works so we can use it in a way that doesn't sound like we've just been on a training course on dealing with objections. So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with feel, felt, found, I'll just explain quickly how it works. Basically, you would just say a sentence using those three words. I understand how you feel. I felt the same way too. But what I found was... Okay, so I understand how you feel. I felt the same way too, but what I found was. So how does it work? So first of all, we have feel. Now, our normal response is to try and disagree with people. So when they say something like, I'm too busy, we say, I'm sure you're not too busy for a party. Or if they say, I don't have any friends, we might say, of course you do. So we're actually, really, all we're doing is annoying them, because what could we possibly know about their life, and how dare we say they're wrong? So even when people really are wrong, they don't like to be told that. So don't forget, our aim here is to get a booking, not to be right. So remember, the customer's always right, even when they're wrong, but even when they're wrong, how they feel is how they feel, and they can't be wrong about how they feel. So when we use the word feel, we're empathizing with them, telling them that we understand. And you're creating a bit of rapport and letting them know that it is actually okay for them to feel the way they do. Next, we have felt. So now we're telling them that they're not the only person who's ever felt like this, because don't forget that people don't want to think that they're different to everyone else, so we need to let them know that they're not. Now, it could be you that's felt the same in the past, or it could be someone that you know of. Now, the last part of this is found. So lastly, we tell them what the other person, whether it was you or someone else, found when they did what you are suggesting. So you'll tell them about how the person who initially felt the same changed their mind by getting more information and got a really nice surprise and found out things were much better than she expected. So it works psychologically, but it's really important that we don't just use it like a robot, because we will sound like we're using a technique. So we need to use the reason why it works in a different way. So let's have a look at how we can use this technique without making it sound like a technique. We need to think of some different phrases we can use. So here's a few for feel, and these will be in your handouts. For feel, instead of feel, we could say, I can see why you might think that. Or we could say, I know what you're saying. Or we could say, I can see your point of view. Now, I'm sure you can think of others, but this is a good start. And I'm not suggesting that you cannot use the words feel, felt, found, but just use them in a way that makes them conversational rather than just using the words like bullet points. So there's some ideas for what you can say instead of feel. For felt, I was a bit worried about that at the beginning. Or, I was skeptical as well to start with, is another one. I've met a few people who've had similar concerns. So there's the felt. And for found, same thing, just some different ways of saying exactly the same word. Look, what's happened though is, or when I tried it, I realized that, or the way that it worked out was, or any other similar sorts of phrases. So we can still use feel, felt, found without using actually feel, felt, found. Now, we'll put that to one side, because what we need to look at next with the objections is we need to think about possible angles we could come from as well. And then once we've looked at the possible angles, we'll be able to put it all together.